The Grand Metropolitan Hotel glowed like a crystal box against the November night. Sophia Mitchell stood at the entrance, smoothing down the burgundy dress that Roberto had insisted she wear. The fabric was silk, expensive in a way that made her uncomfortable. It clung to her body differently than anything she owned, the neckline dipping low across her back, the hem falling just above her knees. "You look stunning," Roberto said beside her, his hand finding the small of her back. The touch was warm, possessive in a way she had started to notice more often lately. Sophia forced a smile. "Thank you for inviting me. I need you here tonight," he replied, guiding her through the marble entrance. "Important people, important conversations. Your translations will be invaluable." She had been translating business documents for Roberto Ferraro for 6 months now. Legal contracts, mostly, acquisition papers, international correspondence. The work paid well, better than most of her freelance clients. He had found her through a referral, or so he said. Charming, attentive, patient with her initial hesitation about working for someone so clearly wealthy and connected. The ballroom opened before them like something from a movie. Chandeliers hung from ceilings that seemed impossibly high, casting golden light across marble floors polished to mirrors. Women in designer gowns moved through the space like jewels. Men in tailored suits clustered in groups, voices low and serious. This was not her world. This had never been her world. "Stay close," Roberto murmured, his fingers pressing slightly against her spine. Sophia nodded, clutching her small clutch purse tighter. Inside was her phone, her lipstick, and a photo of Lorenzo she always carried. Her son was spending the night with Hannah, her neighbor and closest friend. He had been excited about the sleepover, chattering about the movies they would watch. She had kissed his forehead 3 times before leaving, breathing in the scent of his shampoo, the baby softness still clinging to his 4-year-old skin. Roberto moved through the crowd with ease, greeting people by name, shaking hands, introducing Sophia as his translator. She smiled politely, exchanged pleasantries, tried not to think about how much the watch on that man's wrist could pay her rent for a year, tried not to feel like an imposter in borrowed silk. They were halfway across the ballroom when she felt it. A shift in the air, a pressure like the moment before lightning strikes. Her skin prickled with awareness she could not explain. She turned her head slightly, scanning the room. That was when she saw him. Anthony Versiani stood on the second-floor mezzanine, one hand resting on the brass railing, his entire body still. He wore black, the suit fitting him like a second skin, every line sharp and deliberate. His hair was shorter than she remembered, pushed back from his face, revealing the strong bones she had once traced with her fingers in the darkness of their bedroom. 5 years. 5 years since she had seen him. 5 years since he had destroyed her in front of her family, told her she was nothing, that she had been convenient, but ultimately forgettable. 5 years since she had left his penthouse with 1 suitcase and a secret growing inside her body. Their eyes met across the distance. Time stopped. Sophia could not breathe, could not move, could not think beyond the sudden roaring in her ears. Anthony's expression did not change, but something in his posture shifted, coiled tight like a snake preparing to strike. Then his gaze moved slightly to the left, landing on Roberto beside her. Something dark and terrible crossed Anthony's face before he controlled it, smoothing his features back into cold neutrality. "Sophia." Roberto's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Are you all right?" She tore her eyes away from the mezzanine. "Yes, I'm fine. Just warm." Roberto followed her previous line of sight, looking up. His hand on her back stiffened. "Ah, Anthony Versiani. I did not realize he would be here tonight. You know him?" Sophia's voice came out steadier than she felt. "In business, everyone knows everyone," Roberto replied, his tone careful. "We move in similar circles." Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. She had not said his name in 5 years, had not allowed herself to think it most days. And now here he was, real and solid, and descending the curved marble staircase with measured steps that ate up the distance between them. "We should move," she whispered urgently. "No," Roberto said quietly. "That would be rude. He is coming to greet us." Anthony crossed the ballroom floor like a predator, people unconsciously stepping aside to let him pass. A man followed 3 steps behind him, broad-shouldered and alert, eyes constantly scanning. Security, Sophia realized. Or something more dangerous. Then Anthony was there, standing 3 feet away, and Sophia could smell his cologne. The same one. Cedar and something darker. Something that made her remember sheets tangled around bare legs and his mouth on her throat. "Roberto," Anthony said, his voice low and controlled. He did not offer his hand. "Anthony," Roberto replied, smiling in a way that did not reach his eyes. "What a pleasant surprise." "Is it?" Anthony's gaze flicked to Sophia, lingered for a fraction too long, then returned to Roberto. "I was not aware you were bringing a date. Sophia is my translator," Roberto said, pulling her closer against his side. She could feel the tension vibrating through him. Sophia Mitchell. This is Anthony Versiani. The use of her maiden name felt like a small violence. She had taken it back after the divorce, reclaimed the identity she had before him. But hearing it now, in his presence, felt like an erasure of something that still lived in her chest. "We have met," Anthony said, his eyes finally meeting hers directly. The impact was physical. Sophia felt pinned, examined, dissected. His eyes were exactly as she remembered. Dark brown so deep they looked black in certain light, framed by lashes that were absurdly long for a man. She had loved those eyes once. Had believed they saw her, truly saw her, when everyone else in her life had looked through her. "Have you?" Roberto's tone sharpened with interest. "Briefly," Sophia managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "A long time ago. 5 years," Anthony said. Not a question. A statement of fact. 5 years, 2 months, and 16 days. The specificity stole her breath. Roberto laughed, a sound that held no humor. "You have an excellent memory." "For important things," Anthony replied, still looking at Sophia. The man who had followed Anthony stepped closer, his presence a subtle threat. Roberto noticed, his own posture shifting defensively. "Vincent," Anthony said without looking back. "Give us a moment." The large man nodded once and retreated several steps, though his eyes never stopped moving, cataloging exits and potential threats. "So you two knew each other," Roberto said, his hand sliding up to Sophia's shoulder, fingers pressing into the bare skin there. "How fascinating that you never mentioned it, my dear." "It was not worth mentioning," Sophia said quickly. "It was nothing. Nothing," Anthony repeated, the word falling from his lips like a stone into deep water. Roberto reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out his leather wallet. "Well, I am glad for the reunion. Sophia has been wonderful. Brilliant mind. Flawless translations. I am very lucky to have found her." He opened the wallet to retrieve a business card, but his fingers slipped. The wallet tumbled from his hand, hitting the marble floor with a sharp crack. Photographs spilled out, scattering across the polished stone. "How clumsy of me," Roberto said, bending down slowly. Sophia moved to help, crouching in the burgundy dress, gathering the photos. Her own face looked back at her from several shots, professional headshots Roberto had insisted on taking for his company website. Then another photo, smaller, slightly crumpled. Lorenzo at the park. 4 years old, dark hair catching sunlight, laughing at something beyond the camera's frame. His eyes were bright with joy, his small hands gripping the chains of a swing. Sophia froze, the photograph trembling in her fingers. Anthony had also crouched down, ostensibly to help. His hand closed around another photograph of Lorenzo, this one from his first day of preschool, backpack nearly as big as his small body. The world went silent. Sophia watched Anthony's face as he stared at the photograph, watched every molecule of his expression freeze, then crack, then rebuild itself into something carefully blank. But his eyes betrayed him, widening just slightly, pupils dilating as his brain processed what he was seeing. The child in the photograph had his face, the same strong jawline, the same dark eyes set deep, the same mouth. The resemblance was not subtle. It was absolute. Anthony looked up at her, the photograph still gripped in his hand. His lips parted as if to speak, but no sound emerged. She saw the calculation happening behind his eyes, the math adding up with brutal precision. 5 years. A 4-year-old child. The timeline was perfect and damning. "Thank you for the help," Roberto said smoothly, gathering the rest of the photographs and plucking the one from Anthony's frozen fingers. "My nephew, adorable child. Sophia has been kind enough to help with translations for his school enrollment. We are getting him into a prestigious academy." The lie was smooth, practiced, delivered with just enough casual warmth to seem believable. Anthony stood slowly, his movements controlled, but his eyes never leaving the photographs Roberto was sliding back into his wallet. "Your nephew," he repeated. "Yes." Roberto smiled, closing the wallet with a decisive snap. "Family is everything. Do you not agree, Anthony?" Sophia rose on shaking legs. She could not look at Anthony, could not bear to see what was written across his face. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack through bone. "Family is everything," Anthony echoed, his voice hollow. "We should circulate," Roberto said, his hand returning to Sophia's back, guiding her firmly away. "Lovely seeing you, Anthony. I am sure our paths will cross again soon." Anthony did not respond. Sophia felt his eyes on her back as Roberto led her through the crowd toward the bar. Her legs barely functioned, each step requiring conscious thought. That was unexpected. Roberto murmured against her ear. "You did not tell me you knew Anthony Versiani." "I did not think it mattered," Sophia said, her voice mechanical. "It was a very long time ago. How well did you know him?" "Not well. Barely at all." The lie tasted like ash on her tongue. Roberto signaled the bartender, ordering champagne Sophia knew she could not drink, would not be able to swallow past the tightness in her throat. Across the ballroom, Anthony had not moved. He stood exactly where they had left him, Vincent speaking urgently into his ear. But Anthony's attention was fixed on her with the intensity of a man witnessing the destruction of his entire world, because he knew. She had seen it in his eyes the moment he looked at Lorenzo's photograph. He knew he had a son she had never told him about, had hidden for 4 years, had raised alone while he continued his life as if she had never existed. Sophia's hands trembled as she accepted the champagne flute Roberto pressed into her palm. The bubbles caught the chandelier light, tiny explosions of gold that blurred as tears she could not shed gathered behind her eyes. "Drink," Roberto encouraged, his voice gentle but his eyes sharp, watching her carefully. "You look pale." She brought the glass to her lips, pretended to sip, felt the carbonation sting against her mouth. Across the room, Anthony finally moved, turning away, disappearing through a side exit with Vincent following close behind. The moment he was gone, the strength went out of Sophia's legs. She gripped the bar's edge, knuckles white against dark wood. "Perhaps we should leave early," Roberto suggested, though something in his tone suggested it was not really a suggestion. "You seem unwell." "No," Sophia said quickly. "I am fine. Just tired." "Are you certain?" His fingers traced small circles on her lower back, the touch that had once seemed comforting now feeling like surveillance. "I would not want you uncomfortable." "I am fine," she repeated, forcing herself to straighten, to smile, to pretend her entire carefully constructed life had not just shattered into pieces at her feet. But she was not fine. She would never be fine again. Because Anthony Versiani had seen his son for the first time tonight, and there was no universe in which that knowledge did not change everything. Anthony Versiani did not sleep that night. He sat in his private office on the 40th floor of a building he owned under 3 different shell companies, staring at the single photograph Vincent had managed to capture on his phone at the Gala. The boy. His son. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face that mirrored his own with such precision it felt like looking into a time portal. Vincent stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid low tones to their best investigators. When he ended the call, he turned to face Anthony. "We have an address," Vincent said. "Queens. A small apartment building near the subway station. 2nd floor, Unit 2B. Sophia Mitchell has lived there for 4 years and 7 months. Anthony's jaw clenched. 4 years and 7 months, since she had moved into that apartment. 7 months after he had ended their marriage. The timeline assembled itself in his mind with brutal mathematical precision. He had thrown her out of his life while his child grew inside her body. The boy's name is Lorenzo Mitchell, Vincent continued, consulting notes on his tablet. 4 years and 7 months old. Born at Mount Sinai Hospital. No father listed on the birth certificate. Show me everything, Anthony said, his voice rough. Vincent approached the desk, setting the tablet down and swiping through images. Security camera footage from the street outside Sophia's building showed her leaving each morning holding Lorenzo's small hand. The child wore a backpack covered in cartoon dinosaurs. His gait was energetic, bouncing, the way young children move when everything is still an adventure. More photos. Lorenzo at a playground, hanging upside down from monkey bars while Sophia stood nearby. Her face anxious, but trying to hide it. Lorenzo at a small birthday party, cake smeared across his face, laughing. Lorenzo asleep in a stroller while Sophia carried grocery bags up the stairs to their apartment. Every image was a knife between Anthony's ribs. How did Roberto Ferraro meet her? Anthony asked, dragging his eyes away from the screen. Vincent pulled up another file. Officially, 6 months ago at a small art gallery in Chelsea, there was an opening for a local artist. Sophia attended alone. Roberto approached her. They spoke for 20 minutes, exchanged contact information. He hired her as a freelance translator 2 weeks later. Officially, Anthony repeated, catching the emphasis. I dug deeper, Vincent said. Roberto's financial records show payments to a private investigation firm 8 months ago. Significant payments. The firm specializes in background checks and surveillance. I spoke to a contact who confirmed the target was a woman matching Sophia's description. The air in the office seemed to thin. He hunted her deliberately. Yes, Vincent confirmed. The gallery meeting was not chance. He knew exactly who she was before approaching her. Anthony stood abruptly, the chair scraping against hardwood. He crossed to the window, looking out at the city sprawled beneath him. Somewhere in that vast darkness, his son slept in a small apartment, protected only by a mother who had no idea she was being circled by a predator. What does he want? Anthony asked. Unknown, Vincent admitted. But men like Roberto Ferraro do not invest 8 months of planning for simple companionship. She does not know, Anthony said quietly. She has no idea who he really is. Are you certain? Anthony thought about Sophia's face at the gala, the genuine surprise when she saw him, the fear that had flickered across her features when Roberto touched her. She had not known. She was an innocent caught in something designed specifically to hurt Anthony in the most devastating way possible. Put surveillance on both of them, Anthony ordered. 24 hours. I want to know every place they go, every conversation, every phone call Roberto makes. Use the best people. Discreet. Sophia cannot know she is being watched. Already arranged, Vincent said. Teams are in position as of 1 hour ago. Anthony nodded once, his mind already moving through strategies and contingencies. Roberto had made a critical mistake by revealing the child tonight. He had shown his hand too early. Let Anthony see what leverage he thought he possessed. That overconfidence would be his downfall. Get me everything on Roberto Ferraro, Anthony added. Financial records, property holdings, business associates, enemies, everything. Vincent nodded and left the office, his footsteps fading down the corridor. Anthony returned to the desk, picking up the tablet, scrolling back to the image of Lorenzo at the playground. The boy's smile was wide and unguarded, filled with the kind of joy that came from not yet understanding the world could be cruel. Anthony had a son. The knowledge sat in his chest like a living thing, expanding with each breath until he thought his ribs might crack from the pressure. For 5 years he had believed he was protecting Sophia by driving her away, by ensuring she was free of the violence and danger that shadowed every aspect of his life. Instead, he had abandoned her to raise their child alone, had left her vulnerable to men like Roberto Ferraro, who saw her only as a chess piece to be moved and sacrificed. The mistakes of his past had created a present that might destroy everything. The week that followed moved with excruciating slowness. Vincent's team reported back with increasing frequency, building a detailed picture of Sophia's routine and Roberto's increasingly possessive behavior. Sophia worked from home most days, taking translation jobs through a freelance platform, picking up Lorenzo from preschool at 3 o'clock each afternoon. She grocery shopped on Wednesdays. She had coffee with a friend named Hannah every Saturday morning while Lorenzo played at the community center. Her life was small, careful, built around the safety and happiness of her son. Roberto called her 6 times in those first 3 days. The surveillance team had managed to tap his phone, feeding audio directly to Vincent. Anthony listened to each conversation, his hands curling into fists as Roberto's voice dripped false charm and barely concealed control. On the 4th day, the tone shifted. "I would like you to have dinner with me tomorrow evening," Roberto said over the phone, his accent thickening slightly. "At my penthouse. Bring Lorenzo. I have been thinking we should spend more time together as a family." There was a long pause on Sophia's end of the line. When she spoke, her voice carried new wariness. "That is very kind. But Lorenzo has school the next morning. It would be too late for him. We can eat early," Roberto pressed. 6 o'clock. "I will have my chef prepare something special. Children like pizza, yes? Roberto, I appreciate the invitation, but this week is very busy with work deadlines. You work too hard, my dear. You should let me take care of you both. A woman like you should not struggle the way you do." Another pause, longer this time. "I manage fine." "Of course you do," Roberto replied, but something sharp had entered his voice. "You are very capable. But everyone needs help sometimes. Everyone needs someone they can rely on." "I have to go," Sophia said abruptly. "Lorenzo needs me." "Think about dinner," Roberto said. "I will call you tomorrow." The line went dead. Anthony replayed the conversation 3 times, analyzing every inflection, every pause. Roberto was pushing, testing Sophia's boundaries, seeing how much control he could exert. And Sophia was resisting, her instincts finally alerting her to danger even if her conscious mind had not fully accepted it yet. "He is escalating," Vincent observed from across the office. "She is pulling away and it is making him aggressive. She is smart," Anthony said. "She senses something wrong." The next afternoon, surveillance captured Roberto calling Sophia again. This time, his charm had evaporated entirely. "You have been avoiding me," Roberto stated without preamble. "I have not been avoiding you. I told you work has been demanding. You rejected 3 invitations this week, Sophia. That feels very much like avoidance." "I did not reject them. I explained that the timing was not good." "When will the timing be good?" Roberto's voice dropped lower, taking on an edge that made Anthony's muscles tense across town as he listened. "I have been patient. I have been understanding. But patience has limits. Roberto, I think we should talk about our working relationship," Sophia said carefully. "I appreciate the opportunities you have given me, but I am not certain this arrangement is working anymore." Silence stretched across the line. When Roberto spoke again, his voice was silk over steel. "What arrangement are you referring to, my dear? Our professional relationship or our personal one?" "Both," Sophia said quietly. "I think it would be better if we maintained some distance." "Distance," Roberto repeated. "How interesting. Does this sudden desire for distance have anything to do with seeing Anthony Versiani at the gala?" Anthony went very still. "No," Sophia said, but the word came too quickly. "That has nothing to do with this. You seemed very affected by seeing him, very shaken, and now you want distance from me. The timing is curious, do you not think? Roberto, this is not about anyone else. This is about me needing space to focus on my son and my work." "Your son," Roberto said softly. "Yes, Lorenzo. Such a beautiful child. You must worry about him constantly, raising him alone in this city. So many dangers. So many things that could go wrong." The threat was not even thinly veiled. "I have to go," Sophia said, her voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Think carefully, Sophia," Roberto said. "Think very carefully about the choices you are making. Some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt, and some people are not safe to walk away from." The call ended. Anthony was on his feet instantly. "Where is she now?" Vincent checked his phone, reading updates from the surveillance team. "At her apartment. Lorenzo is at preschool for another hour. Roberto? His penthouse in Tribeca." He made 2 calls immediately after hanging up with Sophia. both to associates with ties to organized crime in Russia. He is making moves, Anthony said, his mind racing through scenarios and countermeasures. He knows she is trying to leave and he cannot allow it. What do you want to do? Anthony looked at the city beyond his windows. Somewhere out there, Sophia was alone in a small apartment, probably frightened, trying to figure out how to extricate herself from a situation that had become dangerous without understanding the full scope of that danger. Keep eyes on both of them. If Roberto moves toward her apartment or Lorenzo's school, I want to know immediately. Have a team ready to intervene if necessary. You are protecting her, Vincent said. It was not a question. She is the mother of my son, Anthony replied. That makes her family, and I protect my family. That evening, as Anthony reviewed financial reports he could not focus on, his secure phone buzzed with a message from the surveillance team. Sophia had received a text from an unknown number. The message was simple, only one line. Search his name. Search for real. Anthony had not authorized anyone on his team to contact Sophia directly. He called Vincent immediately. Did you send that message? No, Vincent said. None of our people would break protocol like that. Then who? Unknown. The number is untraceable. Routed through multiple proxies. Anthony frowned. Someone else was watching this situation unfold. Someone else wanted Sophia to know the truth about Roberto Ferraro. The question was who, and what their agenda might be. The surveillance feed showed Sophia sitting on her small couch, staring at her phone screen. Lorenzo played on the floor nearby, building a tower from colorful blocks. After several minutes, Sophia opened her laptop. She typed Roberto's name into a search engine, then refined the search, added keywords, dug deeper than surface results. The team watching her reported that she accessed newspaper archives, legal databases, public records. An hour later, her face had gone pale. She closed the laptop abruptly, pressing both hands over her mouth. She had found something. Not everything, perhaps, but enough to confirm her instincts. Enough to be frightened. Lorenzo looked up from his blocks. Mommy, are you okay? Sophia pulled her hands away from her face, forcing a smile that Anthony could see was fragile even through the grainy surveillance footage. I am fine, baby. Just tired. Can we have mac and cheese for dinner? Yes, Sophia said, her voice strained. Whatever you want. She picked up her phone again, staring at Roberto's last message still displayed on the screen. Her thumb hovered over his contact, as if considering calling him. Then she closed the phone and set it face down on the couch cushion beside her. She was afraid. She knew she was in danger, but she did not know what to do about it, did not know where to turn for help. Anthony watched through the surveillance feed as Sophia stood and went to the kitchen, pulling out a box of pasta from the cabinet with hands that trembled slightly. She started boiling water, moving through familiar motions while her son played innocently nearby, unaware that his mother's world was crumbling around them both. We need to move faster, Anthony said to Vincent. Roberto will not wait long now that she is trying to pull away. He will make a move within the next 48 hours. What kind of move? I do not know yet, Anthony admitted. But whatever it is, we need to be ready. He looked at the screen showing Sophia stirring pasta in a small pot, her shoulders tense with the weight of threats she could not fully understand. His son sat on the floor behind her, building towers and knocking them down with delighted laughter. 5 years ago, Anthony had pushed them both away to keep them safe. Now safety meant pulling them close, whether Sophia wanted that or not, whether she trusted him or not, whether she could ever forgive him or not, because Roberto Ferraro had made a critical error in targeting Anthony's family, and that error would cost him everything. Sophia chose the cafe deliberately. Midtown location, large windows facing the street, always crowded during lunch hours. Public spaces were safer. If she was going to end things with Roberto, she needed witnesses around her, needed the protection of strangers who might intervene if something went wrong. She arrived 15 minutes early, claiming a table near the front where sunlight poured through glass, her hands wrapped around a cup of black coffee she could not taste. Every nerve in her body felt exposed, raw. She had barely slept in the 2 days since that anonymous message, since falling down the rabbit hole of search results that painted Roberto Ferraro as someone far more dangerous than the charming businessman he pretended to be. The connections were vague, carefully obscured by expensive lawyers and media manipulation, but they were there. Associates with known criminal ties, businesses that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, investigations that started but never concluded. And buried deep in an archived news article from 5 years ago, a single paragraph about a territorial dispute that had ended in violence. Sophia checked her phone. Roberto would arrive in 7 minutes. She had rehearsed what she would say, how she would phrase the end of both their professional and personal relationship. Polite but firm. Apologetic but immovable. The chair across from her scraped against tile. Sophia looked up, words already forming on her lips. Then every molecule of air evacuated her lungs. Anthony Versiani sat down in Roberto's seat. He wore charcoal gray today, the suit fitting him with the precision of custom tailoring. His hair was perfect as always, pushed back from his face, revealing those dark eyes that watched her with an intensity that made her want to run. "What are you doing here?" Sophia's voice came out sharp, angry, covering the terror beneath. "Preventing you from making a mistake," Anthony replied calmly. Sophia glanced toward the door, then back at him. "How did you know where I would be? That is not important." "It is important to me." Her hands clenched into fists on the table. "Have you been following me? Having me watched?" Anthony did not deny it. "Roberto Ferraro is dangerous, Sophia. You need to end contact with him immediately and stay far away." "You do not get to tell me what to do," Sophia hissed, leaning forward. "You lost that right 5 years ago when you threw me out of your life like garbage." A muscle in Anthony's jaw flexed. "I understand you are angry." "Angry?" Sophia's voice rose despite her efforts to control it. Several nearby patrons glanced their way. She lowered her tone, but the fury remained. "You humiliated me. You told me I was nothing, that I meant nothing. You destroyed everything we had, and now you think you can just appear and give me orders? This is not about us," Anthony said, his voice tight. "This is about your safety. My safety is not your concern anymore. It will always be my concern." Sophia pushed back from the table, grabbing her purse. "I do not have time for this. Roberto will be here any minute, and I do not want you here when he arrives." "He will not be here," Anthony said. Sophia froze halfway out of her chair. "What?" "There was a traffic incident 3 blocks from here. Multiple vehicles involved. The street is completely blocked. Roberto's car is stuck in the gridlock." The implication settled over Sophia like ice water. "You did that. You caused that." "I needed to speak with you alone," Anthony confirmed without remorse. Sophia sank back into the chair, her legs suddenly unreliable. "You cannot do things like that. You cannot just manipulate circumstances to control me. I am trying to protect you." "From what?" Sophia demanded. "From a man I was already planning to distance myself from?" "I do not need your protection, Anthony. I do not need anything from you. You are in danger, and you do not even fully understand how much." "Then explain it to me," Sophia challenged. "Tell me why Roberto Ferraro is so dangerous. Tell me what this is really about." Anthony's eyes held hers, and for a moment, she saw something break through his controlled facade. Pain, perhaps. Or regret. Roberto is not what he seems. He is involved in activities that put everyone around him at risk. He targeted you specifically, Sophia. Your meeting 6 months ago was not chance. He researched you, planned your introduction, engineered your entire relationship. Why would he do that? To hurt me, Anthony said simply. Sophia shook her head. That makes no sense. He did not even know about our past until the gala. He knew, Anthony insisted. He has known from the beginning. Everything he has done with you has been calculated to use you against me. I am not some chess piece in whatever game you two are playing, Sophia said, her voice shaking now. I am a person. A mother. I have a life that has nothing to do with you or him, or any of this. Lorenzo, Anthony said, and Sophia's entire body went rigid. Tell me about him. No, Sophia whispered. He is mine, Anthony stated, not a question. He is my son. You do not get to claim him, Sophia said, her voice breaking. You gave up that right. I did not know he existed, because I did not tell you, because you made it very clear you wanted nothing from me, nothing of me. So I gave you exactly what you asked for. Anthony leaned forward, his eyes searching her face. If I had known, it would not have changed anything. Sophia cut him off. You would have still been who you are. Your world would have still been too dangerous for us. You would have found some other reason to push us away. You do not know that. I know you, Sophia said quietly. I know exactly who you are, Anthony Versiani, and that is why my son will never know you. The words landed like physical blows. Anthony's expression shuddered, but not before Sophia saw the wound her statement created. He has a birthmark, Anthony said, his voice rough, on his right shoulder blade. Small, shaped like a crescent moon. The same one my brother had. Sophia's breath caught. How do you know that? He is allergic to peanuts. Severely. You carry an EpiPen in your purse at all times because of it. The allergy runs in my family. My grandmother had it. My cousin nearly died from it as a child. Stop, Sophia said. He goes to Little Stars preschool on Elm Street in Queens. His teacher's name is Mrs. Rodriguez. His best friend is a girl named Maya. He loves dinosaurs, specifically the Triceratops, because he thinks the 3 horns make it look tough. Stop it, Sophia repeated, her voice rising. His favorite color is blue. He sleeps with a stuffed elephant named Peanut, which is ironic given his allergy. He asks you every night to read 2 books before bed. Never 1. Always 2. Sophia stood abruptly, the chair scraping loudly. You had no right. No right to investigate him, to watch him, to learn things about my child without my permission. Our child, Anthony corrected, standing as well. He is our child, Sophia. He is my child, Sophia said, her voice shaking with rage and fear. Mine. You are a stranger to him. You will always be a stranger to him. She turned and walked toward the exit, weaving between tables, desperate to escape the suffocating presence of the man who had once been everything to her and was now a threat to the life she had built. Sophia, wait, Anthony called after her. But she did not wait. She pushed through the cafe door into the bright afternoon sunlight, her vision blurring with tears she refused to shed. Her hands fumbled with her phone, calling for a car service, needing to get away, needing to collect Lorenzo from school and hold him close and remind herself that they were safe. They were fine. They had been fine for 4 years without Anthony, and they would continue to be fine. Behind her, Anthony stood in the cafe doorway, watching her retreat. He did not follow, but his presence burned against her back like a brand. 2 days passed. 2 days where Sophia jumped at every sound, checked over her shoulder constantly, held Lorenzo tighter than necessary. He complained that her hugs were too squeezy, but she could not help it. The world had become dangerous in ways she was still trying to fully comprehend. She had not heard from Roberto since their last phone call. No messages, no emails, no attempts at contact. The silence should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like the quiet before a storm. Thursday afternoon arrived ordinary and unremarkable. Sophia left her apartment at 2:30 to walk the 8 blocks to Lorenzo's preschool, the same route she walked every day, past the bodega where the owner always waved, past the small park where elderly men played chess, past the dry cleaner and the nail salon and the pizza place that smelled like heaven. She reached the school at 2:55, 5 minutes before dismissal. The parking lot was half full with other parents' cars. Sophia did not own a car, did not need one living in Queens with good subway access, but today she wished she had driven, wished she had the protection of metal and glass. The preschool doors opened. Children poured out in a chattering stream of tiny backpacks and enthusiastic waving. Sophia spotted Lorenzo immediately, his dark hair catching the afternoon light as he ran toward her. "Mommy!" He crashed into her legs with the full force of 4-year-old momentum. "We made volcanoes today, with baking soda. They exploded." Sophia scooped him up despite the fact that he was getting heavy, too big to carry comfortably. But she needed to hold him, needed to feel the solid reality of his small body against hers. "That sounds amazing," she said, kissing his forehead. "Tell me everything." They started walking toward the parking lot exit, Lorenzo chattering about his day, about volcanoes and science, and how Maya said dinosaurs could not have survived lava. But he disagreed because some dinosaurs were very smart. Then Sophia saw the car. Black sedan, expensive, parked across from the exit in a way that would block her path. And leaning against it, arms crossed, watching her with eyes that held no warmth, was Roberto Ferraro. Sofia stopped walking. Lorenzo, still talking, did not notice at first. Then he tugged on her hand. "Mommy? Why did we stop?" "Just a second, baby," Sofia said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing up her throat. Roberto pushed off from the car and walked toward them. His movements were casual, unhurried. But there was something predatory in the way he closed the distance. This was not the charming man who had brought her flowers and complimented her translations. This was someone else entirely. "Sofia," he said, stopping 3 feet away. "We need to talk." "Not here," Sofia said quietly, aware of other parents nearby, other children. "And not now." "Yes, here," Roberto replied. "And definitely now." Lorenzo pressed closer to Sofia's leg, sensing the tension even if he did not understand it. "Who is that, Mommy?" "A friend from work," Sofia said, the lie tasting bitter. "Baby, can you sit on that bench for just a minute while I talk to him? I want to stay with you," Lorenzo said. "It will only be a minute," Sofia insisted, guiding him to a nearby bench within sight, but hopefully out of earshot. "Sit right here. Do not move. I will be right over there where you can see me." Lorenzo sat reluctantly, swinging his small legs, watching them with worried eyes. Sofia turned back to Roberto, keeping her body angled so she could see Lorenzo in her peripheral vision. "What do you want?" "I want to understand what changed," Roberto said, his voice cold. "1 week ago, we were making plans. Today, you are avoiding my calls and trying to end our relationship. What happened, Sofia?" "I realized we want different things," Sofia said carefully. "I think it is better if we go our separate ways." "Different things," Roberto repeated. "Or did someone convince you I am dangerous?" Sofia's heart hammered. "No one convinced me of anything. Anthony Verziani," Roberto said, watching her face. "You saw him at the gala and everything changed." "What did he tell you about me?" "This has nothing to do with him." "Everything has to do with him," Roberto said, stepping closer. Sofia stepped back instinctively. "Do you know what I find most interesting, Sofia? How carefully you have hidden your past, how thoroughly you erased any connection to your former life. It took significant resources to uncover the truth." "I do not know what you are talking about," Sofia said, but her voice shook. "Sofia Verziani," Roberto said slowly, deliberately. "That was your name once, was it not? Before you reclaimed your maiden name, before you pretended the marriage never happened." Sofia's throat closed. She could not breathe, could not think. "And that beautiful boy sitting on the bench," Roberto continued, his gaze flicking toward Lorenzo. "He is not just any child. He is Anthony Verziani's son, his heir, his weakness. Stay away from him," Sofia said, finding her voice through the terror. "Stay away from both of us." "You think you can just walk away now?" Roberto asked, his smile sharp and cruel. "You think I invested months in this for nothing? You and the boy are valuable, Sofia, more valuable than you understand. And valuable things do not get to simply leave." Sofia's hand moved to her purse, fingers closing around her phone. "I am going to walk away now. If you try to stop me, I will scream and every parent in this parking lot will call the police." "The police!" Roberto laughed without humor. "Yes, please, call them. Tell them that the respected businessman was having a conversation with his translator. See how seriously they take that." Sofia began backing toward the bench where Lorenzo waited. Roberto did not physically stop her, but his eyes tracked her movement like a wolf watching prey. "This is not over, Sofia," Roberto said. "You should think very carefully about your next moves, because some choices have consequences that extend beyond yourself. Your son deserves a mother who makes smart decisions, who protects him from unnecessary danger." The threat was clear. Sofia reached Lorenzo, grabbed his hand, and pulled him up from the bench. "We are leaving," she said to Roberto. "Do not contact me again." She walked quickly toward the street, practically dragging Lorenzo, who stumbled trying to keep up with her pace. "Mommy, you are hurting my hand," he complained. "I am sorry, baby," Sofia said, loosening her grip but not letting go. "We need to walk fast right now. Behind them, Roberto remained standing in the parking lot, watching them leave. Sophia did not look back. She turned the corner onto the main street, her entire body shaking with adrenaline and fear. They were 2 blocks away when she finally stopped, bending down to Lorenzo's level. "Are you okay?" she asked, checking him over as if Roberto might have somehow harmed him despite never touching him. "I am fine," Lorenzo said, confused. "But you seem scared." "Are you scared, Mommy?" "No," Sophia lied. "I am fine. Everything is fine." But everything was not fine. Roberto knew about Anthony. Roberto knew about Lorenzo. And Roberto had made it very clear that he had no intention of letting them go. Sophia pulled out her phone with trembling hands. She had no idea where to go, what to do, how to protect her son from threats she barely understood. Her apartment was not safe. Staying in public was not safe. Nothing was safe anymore. The phone rang once before a familiar voice answered. "Sophia," Anthony said, and she heard everything in how he spoke her name. Relief. Concern. Anticipation. "I need help," Sophia whispered, and saying those words felt like stepping off a cliff into darkness with no certainty of what waited below. Sophia climbed into the first rideshare that stopped at the curb, her heart still hammering. She sat behind the driver, phone clenched in her fist, and gave directions that came out broken and breathless. Her fingers dug into the edge of the seat as if gripping it could keep her upright. In the back seat, Lorenzo sat quietly for once, his usual endless chatter replaced by worried silence. He knew something was wrong even if he could not name it. "Mommy, where are we going?" he asked after they had been driving for 20 minutes through unfamiliar neighborhoods. "I am not sure yet, baby," Sophia admitted, her voice strained. "Just somewhere safe." She had called Anthony from the street corner 2 blocks from Lorenzo's school, her voice breaking as she said words she never thought she would speak to him again. "I need help." He had responded immediately with an address, instructions to get there, a promise that she would be protected. But Sophia had not gone straight to that address. She did not trust Anthony, could not trust him, despite the desperation clawing at her chest. Instead, she had the driver loop through Queens, then cross into Brooklyn, changing destinations twice when her nerves spiked. She kept twisting to look through the rear window, scanning the cars behind them for the sleek shape of Roberto's black sedan. The city blurred past her windows, familiar streets becoming foreign territory where every shadow held potential threat. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder, a text message from an unknown number. "Black SUV, 3 cars behind you. Do not be alarmed. Vincent Pellegrini. Working with Anthony. Follow my directions." Sophia's breath caught. She checked the mirror and saw it. A black SUV maintaining careful distance. Her first instinct was to accelerate, to lose whoever was following. But what good would that do? She had no plan, no safe place to go. Her apartment was compromised. Hannah's apartment would put her friend in danger. Hotels required identification that could be traced. Another text arrived. "Turn right at the next light, then merge onto the highway heading north." Sophia's hands trembled on the wheel. She could ignore the instructions, could try to run on her own. But Roberto had resources she could not fight alone. He had proven that today, appearing at Lorenzo's school as if he had every right to be there, making threats that were all the more terrifying for how calmly he delivered them. She turned right. The SUV followed at a respectful distance. More text messages came, guiding her through turns and lane changes, directing her north out of the city. Lorenzo had fallen asleep in his car seat, exhausted from the emotional upheaval of the day. His small chest rose and fell with deep, even breaths. His dinosaur backpack clutched against his body like a shield. 2 hours later, Sophia found herself on a private road cutting through dense Connecticut woodland. The trees formed a canopy overhead, filtering late afternoon sunlight into golden fragments. She followed the texts to a security gate that opened automatically as she approached, then continued up a long driveway to a house that looked nothing like what she expected. It was modern, all clean lines and large windows, built into the hillside as if growing naturally from the landscape. Not ostentatious, but clearly expensive in the way that quality always was. The black SUV pulled up beside her car as she parked. A large man stepped out, his posture military precise, his eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. Sophia stayed in her car, one hand on the door handle, the other reaching back to rest on Lorenzo's sleeping leg. The man approached slowly, keeping his hands visible. When he reached her window, he spoke quietly. "Mrs. Verciani, I am Vincent Pellegrini. Anthony sent me to ensure you arrived safely." "It is Ms. Mitchell," Sophia corrected automatically. "I have not been Mrs. Verciani for 5 years. "My apologies," Vincent said, and he sounded genuinely regretful. "Ms. Mitchell, Anthony is inside. He would like to speak with you." "I'm not going anywhere until I know Lorenzo is safe," Sophia said, her voice harder than she felt. "The house is secure," Vincent assured her. "Multiple layers of security, surveillance systems, trained personnel on the perimeter. Roberto Ferraro cannot reach you here." The front door of the house opened. Anthony stepped out, stopping at the edge of the porch, maintaining distance the way someone might approach a frightened animal. He wore jeans and a dark sweater, more casual than Sophia had ever seen him. It made him look younger, less intimidating, though his eyes held the same intensity they always had. Sophia made her decision. She opened the car door and stepped out, then opened the back door to unbuckle Lorenzo. He stirred, blinking sleepy confusion. "Are we home?" he mumbled. "Somewhere different," Sophia said, lifting him out despite the protest of her tired muscles. "Somewhere safe." She carried him toward the house, hyper-aware of Anthony watching her approach. When she reached the porch steps, he spoke. "There is a room prepared for him. Second door on the left upstairs. You can put him down to rest while we talk." Sophia climbed the steps, passing close enough to Anthony that she caught his scent, the same cologne that still sometimes haunted her dreams. She did not look at him, could not bear to meet his eyes yet. Inside, the house was beautiful in an understated way. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, furniture that looked comfortable rather than merely decorative. Natural light poured through the windows, making everything glow warm and golden. Sophia climbed the stairs, found the second door on the left, and pushed it open. She stopped breathing. The room was perfect. A child's room, carefully designed for a boy Lorenzo's age. A bed shaped like a race car sat against one wall. Shelves held books arranged by size, their spines showing titles Sophia recognized as Lorenzo's current favorites. Toys filled bins in one corner, educational puzzles and building blocks, and yes, dinosaur figures in every size and shape. A small desk held coloring books and crayons. The closet door stood open, revealing clothes hanging neatly, sizes that would fit Lorenzo exactly. "How?" Sophia whispered. Anthony had followed her upstairs, standing in the doorway. "I wanted him to be comfortable if you came here. I wanted him to feel safe." Sophia laid Lorenzo on the race car bed. He curled onto his side immediately, thumb finding his mouth, a habit he was supposed to be breaking. She pulled a soft blanket over him, one that smelled new and clean, and nothing like home. When she turned, Anthony had moved back into the hallway, giving her space. Sophia stepped out and closed the door most of the way, leaving it cracked so she could hear if Lorenzo woke. "We need to talk," Anthony said quietly. They went downstairs to a living area with a fireplace and comfortable couches. Vincent had disappeared, leaving them alone. Sophia sat on the edge of a chair, her entire body tense and ready to bolt. Anthony sat across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "Roberto knows about Lorenzo," Sophia said without preamble. "He knows Lorenzo is your son. He threatened us today at the school." "I know," Anthony replied. "My people were watching. They reported everything. You have been watching me," Sophia said, anger flaring despite her exhaustion. "Following me, tracking my movements, invading my privacy, protecting you," Anthony corrected. "There is a difference. Not to me." Anthony exhaled slowly. "Roberto Ferraro has been planning this for months, maybe longer. He researched you, found your connection to me, orchestrated your meeting. Everything about your relationship with him has been designed to position you as leverage against me." "Why?" Sophia asked, her voice breaking. "Why would he do that? What did you do to make him hate you enough to target innocent people?" "That is complicated," Anthony said. "Then uncomplicate it," Sophia demanded. "You brought me here. You brought my son to this house in the middle of nowhere. I deserve to know what we are caught in the middle of." Anthony was quiet for a long moment, his eyes distant, seeing things Sophia could not. When he spoke, his voice carried weight that had not been there before. 5 years ago, my brother was killed. Marco. He was 26 years old. Someone set up an ambush, made it look like random violence in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it was not random. It was calculated. It was murder. Sophia's anger cooled, replaced by something else. Sympathy, perhaps, or the memory of her own losses. I am sorry, she said quietly. He died 3 days before I divorced you, Anthony continued. I held him while he bled out in the street. I watched the life leave his eyes. And I realized that everyone I loved was in danger simply by being connected to me. My mother, my cousins, you, anyone who mattered to me became a target. So you pushed me away, Sophia said, understanding beginning to dawn. You made me hate you so I would leave and never come back. I could not survive losing you the way I lost Marco, Anthony admitted, his voice rough. So I chose to lose you differently, on my terms. Knowing you were alive somewhere, even if you hated me, that was better than the alternative. Sophia pressed her hands to her face, emotions warring inside her chest. Anger at the years of pain, of struggling alone, of believing she had meant nothing to him. Relief that maybe she had mattered after all. Grief for the young man who had died and changed everything. I was pregnant, she said through her hands. 2 months pregnant when you told me I was nothing to you. When you had your security escort me out of the building like I was trash. Anthony made a sound, something broken and painful. I did not know. Sophia, I swear to you, I did not know. She lowered her hands, looking at him directly. Would it have changed anything if you did? Yes, Anthony said without hesitation. Everything. I would have found another way. I would have protected you both without driving you away. I do not believe you, Sophia said, but her voice lacked conviction. That is fair, Anthony replied. I have given you no reason to trust me, but I am asking you to trust me now, for Lorenzo's sake, if not for yours. Stay here where Roberto cannot reach you. Let me handle this situation. Let me protect my family. We are not your family, Sophia said automatically. You are the mother of my son, Anthony said, his eyes intense. That makes you family whether you accept it or not. And I protect what is mine. The possessive phrasing should have angered her. Instead, it created a warmth in her chest she did not want to acknowledge. 6 weeks had passed since the night they arrived at the Connecticut house. Sophia woke each morning to sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked dense forest, to the sound of Lorenzo's laughter echoing through rooms that no longer felt foreign. The routines they had built felt dangerously close to permanent, dangerously close to something she might call home. She worked from a small office on the 2nd floor, headphones on, translating legal documents and technical manuals for clients who had no idea where she was physically located. The work was steady, the pay reliable, and it gave her the sense of independence she desperately needed. She was not Anthony's charity case. She was still Sophia Mitchell, professional translator, woman who took care of herself and her son. Hannah received regular video calls, Sophia carefully maintaining the fiction of a work assignment that required temporary relocation. Her friend accepted the explanation with minimal questioning, sending photos of Sophia's apartment where plants were thriving and mail was neatly stacked on the kitchen counter. Sometimes Sophia felt guilt for the lie, but mostly she felt relief that her old life continued existing somewhere, waiting for her eventual return. Lorenzo attended school online now, logging into video sessions with a teacher named Mrs. Carter, who led him through reading lessons and basic mathematics. He sat at the small desk in his room, headphones too large for his head, raising his hand to answer questions even though he was alone in front of a screen. The normalcy of it broke Sophia's heart in ways she could not articulate. Anthony moved through the house like a ghost who was learning to be solid. He worked from the study, door closed, voice occasionally rising in sharp commands in languages Sophia could identify, and some she could not. But every evening at 6 o'clock without fail, that door opened and he emerged for dinner. The awkwardness of the first week had slowly dissolved. Lorenzo had accepted Anthony's presence with the easy adaptability of childhood, asking questions that Sophia answered carefully. watching the relationship between father and son develop with emotions too complicated to name. Anthony learned Lorenzo's preferences, his routines, the specific way he liked his sandwich cut, and his juice diluted with water. Vincent visited daily, his large frame somehow gentle around Lorenzo. He brought small gifts sometimes, a toy car or a new book, claiming he had found them and thought Lorenzo might enjoy them. Lorenzo called him Uncle Vincent now, the title given freely and accepted with visible pleasure. This particular evening found Lorenzo already asleep upstairs, exhausted from a day spent playing in the yard under Vincent's watchful supervision. Sophia stood at the window in her room, looking out at darkness punctuated by security lights hidden among trees. She should sleep. Her body ached with the tiredness that came from constant vigilance, from sleeping lightly, from waiting for the other shoe to drop. But restlessness drove her downstairs instead. The living room glowed with firelight. Anthony sat on the couch, a glass of red wine in his hand, staring into flames that danced across logs. He wore jeans and a dark sweater, casual clothes that made him look younger, more approachable, though his posture remained coiled tight with tension that never fully left him. "Cannot sleep?" he asked without turning his head. "Too much thinking," Sophia replied. He rose in one fluid motion, crossed to the sideboard, and poured wine into a second glass. He held it out to her, the firelight catching in the dark liquid. Sophia took it, the crystal cool against her palm. She sat on the opposite end of the couch, pulling her legs beneath her, wrapping her cardigan tighter around her body. They drank in silence. The fire crackled. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked. Outside, wind moved through trees with sounds like whispered conversations. "Why did it have to be so cruel?" Sophia asked quietly, the wine loosening words she had kept locked inside. "The divorce. You could have just said you did not want to be married anymore. You did not have to humiliate me in front of my family. You did not have to tell me I was nothing." Anthony set his glass on the coffee table with careful precision, because anything less would not have worked. "You would have fought for us. You would have insisted we could fix whatever was broken. And you were so good at fixing things, at believing in people even when they did not deserve it. So you made me hate you," Sophia said. "I made you leave," Anthony corrected. "Hate was just the tool I had available." Sophia took a long drink, needing the burn of alcohol to steady herself. "You told me I was common, that I embarrassed you in front of your business associates, that marrying me had been a mistake you regretted every day." "I know what I said," Anthony replied, his voice rough. "I remember every word. They are burned into my memory. I see your face when I close my eyes, the way you looked at me when I said those things, like I had physically struck you. You might as well have," Sophia whispered. Anthony leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "My brother died 3 days before I divorced you. Marco. He was 26 years old. Someone ambushed him on a street corner in Brooklyn, shot him 6 times. I held him while he bled out on the concrete. He died in my arms, asking me to tell our mother he was sorry." The words hit Sophia like cold water. "I did not know. You never said anything about a brother. We did not talk much about family," Anthony said. "That was deliberate on my part. The less you knew, the safer you were, or so I believed." Sophia remembered those final weeks of their marriage now through a different lens. Anthony had been distant, cold, spending nights away from their bed. She had thought he was pulling away from her specifically. Now she understood he had been drowning in grief and terror, making impossible calculations about how to protect what remained of his world. "When Marco died, I realized something," Anthony continued, staring into the fire. "Everyone I loved was a target. My mother, my cousins, you, especially you. You were so visible, so connected to me. It was only a matter of time before someone used you to hurt me. I could not survive that. I could not survive losing you the way I lost him." "So you pushed me away," Sophia said, understanding crystallizing. "You made me leave so I would be safe. It seemed logical at the time," Anthony said. "Break your heart but keep you alive. That was the trade I made." "You did not get to make that choice for me," Sophia said, anger flaring beneath the sympathy. You did not get to decide what risks I was willing to take. You are right, Anthony agreed. But I was not thinking clearly. I was 29 years old and I had just watched my little brother die. Logic was not my strong suit in that moment. Sophia finished her wine, set the empty glass aside. I was pregnant. 2 months pregnant when you threw me out. I found out a week later. Sat in a clinic bathroom, staring at a positive test and trying to figure out how I was going to survive as a single mother with no job and no place to live. Anthony made a sound like something had broken inside his chest. Why did you not tell me? Because you made it very clear you wanted nothing from me, Sophia replied. You said I was a mistake. You had security escort me from the building like I was a criminal. You froze my credit cards. You had your lawyer serve me with divorce papers that same day. What part of that suggested you wanted to know about a baby? Any of it, Anthony said, his voice cracking. All of it. Sophia, if I had known, I would have found another way. I would have protected you both without driving you away. I would have moved you somewhere safe, given you security, made sure you had everything you needed, and kept me in a cage, Sophia said. Protected but trapped. That is not a life, Anthony. It is better than the alternative, Anthony insisted. Is it? Sophia challenged. Is safety worth giving up every choice, every freedom? Is it worth living in constant fear? They stared at each other across the small distance separating them on the couch. The fire painted Anthony's face in shades of gold and shadow, highlighting the sharp planes of his cheekbones, the strong line of his jaw. Sophia remembered touching that face, remembered the texture of his skin against her fingertips, the way his eyes would soften when he looked at her in the darkness of their bedroom. Tell me about him, Anthony said quietly. Tell me about Lorenzo. Tell me everything I missed. So Sophia did. She told him about pregnancy, about working 2 jobs until exhaustion made her dizzy, about labor that lasted almost a full day, about Hannah holding her hand through every contraction because she had no one else, about the first time she held Lorenzo and saw Anthony's eyes staring back at her from that tiny, wrinkled face. She told him about sleepless nights walking the floors of her small apartment, about first smiles and first words, about the terror of Lorenzo's first fever, about rushing him to the emergency room at 2 a.m, convinced he was dying, when it was just a virus that broke by morning, about first steps taken while holding onto their coffee table, about the pride that had flooded her even as she wished Anthony could be there to see it. She told him about preschool interviews, where she felt inadequate compared to other parents with their designer clothes and confident answers, about birthday parties in the community center where Lorenzo blew out candles on homemade cake and opened presents Sophia had saved for months to afford, about bedtime stories read in funny voices, about nightmares soothed, about the thousands of small moments that built a childhood. Anthony listened without interrupting. His eyes never left her face, absorbing every word like a man dying of thirst being offered water. When she finished, his jaw was rigid with emotion he fought to contain. I am sorry, he said, the words barely audible. I am sorry you went through all of that alone. I am sorry I was not there for any of it. You chose not to be there, Sophia reminded him. I chose wrong, Anthony said. I thought I was protecting you. Instead, I abandoned you when you needed me most. I left you vulnerable and struggling while I convinced myself I was being noble. They were close now, Sophia realized. Somehow during the conversation they had drifted together, the distance between them shrinking until only inches separated them. She could count his eyelashes, could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow that she had kissed 1,000 times in another life. I cannot forgive you, Sophia whispered. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I am not asking for forgiveness, Anthony replied, his voice low and rough. I am asking for a chance to be the father Lorenzo deserves, to be the man you both deserve, to do better than I did 5 years ago. What if better is not possible? Sophia asked. What if your world is still too dangerous? What if nothing has really changed? Everything has changed, Anthony said. I have a son. I have you back in my life even if you hate me. That changes everything. They were too close now, breathing the same air, the heat between them building until Sophia felt dizzy from it. Anthony's hand lifted slowly, fingers brushing against her cheek with a gentleness that seemed impossible from a man capable of such violence. "Sophia," he murmured, her name a question and a prayer. She leaned forward, closing the final distance, their lips meeting in a kiss that tasted like wine and regret and possibility. His hand slid into her hair, cupping the back of her head. Her hands fisted in his sweater, pulling him closer, needing more contact, more proof that this was real. The kiss deepened, years of anger and longing pouring into it. Anthony's other hand found her waist, his thumb tracing circles against her hip through the thin fabric of her cardigan. Sophia made a sound low in her throat, something between a moan and a sob, her body remembering his touch even as her mind screamed warnings. Then footsteps thundered on the stairs, sharp and urgent. They broke apart as Vincent burst into the living room, his face tight with barely controlled panic. "We have a problem," Vincent said without preamble. "Roberto found the location. I do not know how he broke through our security protocols, but he has the address. We have 10 minutes, maybe 15 before his people arrive." Anthony was on his feet instantly, all softness vanishing. "Route 7, he ordered. "Not Route 3. Get the vehicles ready. Alert the perimeter team. I want a clean evacuation, no contact." "Already in motion," Vincent confirmed. "But boss, we need to move now." Sophia stood on trembling legs, the wine and the kiss making her unsteady. "Lorenzo, go," Anthony said, already moving toward the study where weapons were locked in a safe. She had pretended not to notice. "Get him ready. Do not pack anything. Just grab him and go. Vincent will take you directly to the Manhattan property." Sophia ran for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time despite the wine making her coordination imperfect. She burst into Lorenzo's room where he slept peacefully in his race car bed, his stuffed elephant clutched against his chest. For a moment she just stared at him, memorizing the innocence on his sleeping face, the way his dark lashes rested against his cheeks. Then she scooped him up, blanket and elephant and all, holding him against her shoulder. He made a small sound of protest, but did not fully wake, his body going limp and heavy with the boneless trust of sleeping children. Vincent met her at the bottom of the stairs, his large hand gentle on her back as he guided her toward the garage. Anthony appeared from another direction carrying 2 bags, one Sophia recognized as hers, the other smaller, filled with Lorenzo's things. "The Connecticut house," Sophia said as they moved. "All Lorenzo's toys, his books." "Already handled," Anthony said. "A team will collect everything and bring it to Manhattan. He will not lose anything that matters." They were in the car within 3 minutes of Vincent's initial warning. Sophia sat in the back with Lorenzo secured in a car seat that must have been installed at some point during their stay, one more detail Anthony had anticipated and prepared for. Anthony followed in a separate vehicle with 3 men Sophia did not recognize. Security that had been there all along, invisible until needed. The drive through dark Connecticut roads felt endless. Lorenzo woke about 30 minutes in, his small face confused and frightened in the dim glow of passing streetlights. "Mommy?" His voice was small, scared. "Where are we going? Why did we leave?" "We are going somewhere different," Sophia said, stroking his hair with shaking fingers. "Somewhere even safer. Everything is okay, baby. I promise everything is okay." But Lorenzo was 4 years old enough to sense when adults were lying. "Are the bad people coming?" Sophia's breath caught. She had never explicitly told him there were bad people, but children absorbed more than parents realized. "No one is going to hurt you," she said firmly. "Your daddy and Uncle Vincent and I are making sure you stay safe." "My daddy," Lorenzo repeated, testing the word. "Anthony." "Yes," Sophia confirmed. "Anthony is your daddy." Lorenzo processed this in silence for several minutes. Then he asked, "Is he a good daddy?" Sophia looked out the window at darkness broken by occasional lights, at the world rushing past while they fled from threats she still did not fully understand. "Yes," she said quietly. "Yes. He is trying very hard to be a good daddy." They reached Manhattan after 2 hours of driving. The city rose around them, familiar and foreign at once. Vincent navigated through streets Sophia recognized, then down into an underground garage beneath a building that gleamed dark glass against the night sky. An elevator took them directly to a penthouse apartment. The doors opened onto a space that was modern and secure, all clean lines and muted colors. Not a home, Sophia thought immediately. A safe house. A place designed for function rather than comfort. Lorenzo was fully awake now, looking around with wide, frightened eyes. He had started crying softly, overwhelmed by the upheaval and confusion. Sophia held him tight, murmuring reassurances that felt hollow, even as she spoke them. Anthony emerged from the second elevator, his presence immediately filling the space. He crossed to them, moving slowly, deliberately, giving Lorenzo time to process his approach. Then he knelt down, bringing himself to Lorenzo's eye level. "Hey," Anthony said, his voice gentle in a way Sophia had never heard before. "I know this is scary. I know you do not understand what is happening. But you are safe here. Your mom is safe. Nothing bad is going to happen to either of you. I promise." Lorenzo looked at him with tears streaming down his face. "Who are you?" he asked, even though Sophia had told him, even though he knew. Anthony glanced up at Sophia. She nodded once, giving permission for something that would change everything irrevocably. "I am Anthony," he said to Lorenzo. "I am your father." Lorenzo's young mind worked through the concept visibly. "My daddy?" he asked. "Like the other kids have daddies?" "Yes," Anthony said, his voice breaking slightly. "Like that. I am your daddy." Lorenzo studied Anthony's face with the serious intensity children sometimes showed when processing important information. Then he stepped forward, closing the small distance between them, and wrapped his small arms around Anthony's neck. Anthony's eyes closed. His arms came up slowly, carefully, wrapping around his son for the first time. His large hands looked enormous against Lorenzo's small back, his face buried in Lorenzo's dark hair, breathing in the scent of his child. And Sophia saw his shoulders shake with emotion he could no longer contain. She pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her own face, watching the two people she loved most in the world hold each other for the first time, watching Anthony discover what it meant to be a father, watching Lorenzo discover what it meant to be claimed and wanted and protected. Vincent stood near the door, his own eyes suspiciously bright. When he caught Sophia looking, he nodded once, a gesture of respect and understanding. This was real now. This was no longer temporary or theoretical. Anthony was Lorenzo's father not just biologically, but emotionally, practically, in every way that mattered. And that knowledge changed the equation of everything that would come next. The Manhattan penthouse became their new prison disguised as safety. Days blurred into each other, each one measured by Lorenzo's online school sessions, and the reports Vincent delivered in low voices behind closed doors. Sophia worked from a makeshift office, translated documents, maintained the fiction of normalcy while her nerves stretched tighter with each passing hour. Anthony disappeared for long stretches during the day, returning with tension coiled in his shoulders and darkness in his eyes. He never said where he went or what he was planning, but Sophia saw the strategy taking shape in the way he moved, in the phone calls conducted in rooms with closed doors, in the way Vincent's visits became more frequent and more urgent. 3 weeks after they arrived in Manhattan, Sophia woke to find Anthony already gone. She checked Lorenzo's room, found him still sleeping with his elephant clutched tight, then wandered to the kitchen where coffee was already brewed. A note sat beside the pot in Anthony's precise handwriting. "Staying at office today. Vincent will be with you. Don't worry. Don't worry." As if that were possible. As if she had not spent 3 weeks jumping at every unexpected sound, checking over her shoulder constantly, her body vibrating with the anticipation of violence that never came but felt inevitable. She poured coffee, stood at the window looking out at the city spread beneath her. Somewhere in those streets, Roberto Ferraro was planning his next move. Somewhere, Anthony was planning his counter. And Sophia stood between them, powerless and frustrated by her own helplessness. Vincent arrived at 9, his face carefully neutral. "Morning, Ms. Mitchell." "Lorenzo awake yet?" "Still sleeping," Sophia replied. "Anthony left early." "Business," Vincent said, the word encompassing everything and revealing nothing. Sophia studied him over her coffee cup. "What kind of business?" "The kind that keeps you both safe," Vincent replied. I am tired of being kept safe, Sophia said, setting her cup down with more force than necessary. I am tired of being protected and managed and kept in the dark about decisions that affect my life and my son's life. Vincent's expression softened slightly. I understand your frustration. Do you? Sophia challenged. Do you really? Because from where I stand, you and Anthony are making plans that involve me without actually including me. I am not a chess piece to be moved around the board. No one thinks you are, Vincent said carefully. Then tell me what is happening, Sophia demanded. Tell me what Anthony is planning. Vincent hesitated, loyalty warring with sympathy across his features. I cannot. He would have my head. Sophia was about to press further when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She opened it, frowning. Warehouse meeting tonight, 8 p.m., Brooklyn Docks. Be there if you want answers. Her blood went cold. She looked up at Vincent, who had moved closer, reading the message over her shoulder. His face darkened immediately. Who sent that? He demanded. I do not know, Sophia said, but her mind was racing. Someone wanted her at that warehouse. Someone wanted her present for whatever was about to happen. Vincent was already on his phone, speaking rapidly to someone. When he ended the call, his expression was grim. Anthony set up a meeting with Roberto Ferraro tonight, neutral territory. He was not planning to tell you. Of course he was not, Sophia said bitterly. Because heaven forbid I actually participate in my own life. He was trying to protect you from what? Sophia interrupted. From the truth? From seeing the man who manipulated me for months? From getting answers about why any of this happened? From danger, Vincent said firmly. These meetings can turn violent quickly. Anthony did not want you anywhere near it. Too bad, Sophia said, her decision crystallizing. I am going. Ms. Mitchell, I am going, Sophia repeated. Either you take me, or I will call a car service and go alone. Your choice. Vincent stared at her, clearly calculating options. Anthony will kill me. Anthony can get in line, Sophia replied. I have been passive for too long, Vincent. I have let men make decisions about my life, about my safety, about what I am capable of handling. I am done with that. I need to see Roberto Ferraro face to face. I need to hear from him why he did this. Vincent exhaled slowly. Lorenzo cannot come. Obviously, Sophia agreed. He stays here with your best people. People who will die before they let anything happen to him. Already arranged, Vincent said. I will have 3 of our most trusted guards here. Former special forces. They will not leave his side. And I wear whatever protective gear you think is necessary. Sophia continued. I follow your instructions. I stay where you tell me to stay. But I am there, Vincent. I am in that room. Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Bulletproof vest. You wear it under your clothes. You stay exactly where I position you, which will be behind Anthony and myself. You do not speak unless spoken to directly. And if I tell you to get down or run or do anything, you do it immediately without question. Agreed, Sophia said. The hours until 8 o'clock crawled past with agonizing slowness. Sophia explained to Lorenzo that she had an important work meeting, that Uncle Vincent's friends would stay with him for the evening. Lorenzo accepted this with the trusting ease of childhood, more interested in the action figures one of the guards brought than in his mother's obvious tension. Vincent returned at 6 with a thin, bulletproof vest that he helped her put on under a dark sweater. It was lighter than she expected, but made her movements feel constrained, a constant reminder of the danger she was walking toward. Anthony is going to lose his mind when he sees you, Vincent warned as they drove through Brooklyn toward the docks. Good, Sophia said. Let him be angry. I am angry too. The warehouse appeared gradually through the darkness, a renovated structure that stood among other industrial buildings like a wolf among sheep. Light spilled from high windows. Several expensive cars were parked outside, including one Sophia recognized as Anthony's. Vincent parked, then turned to face her. Last chance to change your mind. Not a chance, Sophia replied. They entered through a side door. The interior of the warehouse was surprisingly finished. Exposed brick walls and polished concrete floors, industrial lighting casting harsh shadows. A large open space served as the main area, with offices along one wall and what looked like a conference room in the back. Anthony stood in the center of the space with 3 men Sophia did not recognize. His back was to the door, but the moment it opened, his entire body went rigid. He turned slowly, his face cycling through surprise, anger, and resignation in rapid succession. "Sophia," he said, his voice dangerous. "What are you doing here?" "Getting answers," Sophia replied, moving further into the space despite Vincent's hand on her arm urging caution. "Answers you were not planning to give me." "This is not safe," Anthony said, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. "You should not be here." "And yet here I am," Sophia said, lifting her chin. "Deal with it." Anthony looked at Vincent. "I told you to keep her at the apartment." "She was determined," Vincent said simply. "Would have come alone if I did not bring her. You should have stopped her." Anthony growled. "Have you met her?" Vincent replied. "Stopping her requires more force than I was willing to use." Anthony's jaw clenched, but before he could respond, the main entrance opened. Roberto Ferraro walked in flanked by 5 men in expensive suits that did not quite hide the weapons they carried. His eyes swept the warehouse, landing on Anthony first, then sliding to Sophia. His smile was cold and sharp. "Anthony," Roberto said, his accent thickening slightly, "you did not mention you would be bringing guests." "Sophia is not a guest," Anthony replied. "She is family, and she has questions for you." Roberto's smile widened. "Does she now? How fascinating. And what questions could you possibly have for me, my dear?" Sophia stepped forward despite Anthony's hand shooting out to stop her. "Why me? Why did you target me specifically? Is it not obvious?" Roberto asked, moving closer with predatory grace. "You were Anthony Versiani's greatest weakness, his former wife, the woman he loved enough to marry, loved enough to destroy himself pushing away. Finding you was like finding a loaded gun pointed directly at his heart." "You researched me," Sophia said. "You planned our meeting. You pretended to care about me. All of it was manipulation." "All of it was strategy," Roberto corrected. "Nothing personal, you understand. You were simply the most effective tool available." "She is not a tool," Anthony said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "She is a person, a mother. Someone who did nothing to deserve being caught in whatever game you think we are playing." Roberto laughed, the sound echoing in the cavernous space. "Game? This is no game, Anthony. This is war. Were you started when you refused to accept the new order 5 years ago?" 5 years ago, Sophia repeated, the timeline clicking into place. "When Anthony's brother died." Roberto turned his full attention to her, something glittering in his eyes. "Ah, she is clever. Yes, 5 years ago, when Marco Versiani became an obstacle to my expansion into Brooklyn territories, when he refused to recognize that his family's time was ending and mine was beginning." The warehouse went absolutely silent. Sophia felt the air change, felt Anthony go completely still beside her, with the stillness of a predator about to strike. "You," Anthony said, each word precise and cold. "You killed Marco." "I coordinated the ambush, yes," Roberto confirmed casually, as if discussing the weather. "He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, defending territory that was already lost. A shame, really. He was young. He could have chosen to step aside." Sophia watched Anthony's face, saw rage and grief war beneath his controlled exterior. His hands clenched into fists, his entire body coiling with violence barely restrained. "You have wanted a confession," Roberto continued, enjoying the moment. "Here it is. I killed your brother. I researched your ex-wife. I discovered your son through medical records that were not as secure as you thought. I orchestrated everything to position myself with leverage you could not refuse, and it would have worked perfectly if she had not started pulling away." He gestured toward Sophia with casual dismissal. "The plan was simple," Roberto explained. "Use them to force territorial concessions. Get what I needed. Then eliminate them both so they could not be used against me by anyone else. Clean, efficient, final." Sophia's legs nearly gave out. He had planned to kill her, to kill Lorenzo. Not as punishment or revenge, but as simple strategy, as cleaning up loose ends. Vincent's hand closed around her elbow, steadying her. Anthony had moved between Sophia and Roberto without her noticing, his body a wall of protection. "You made a mistake," Anthony said quietly. "Did I?" Roberto asked, amused. "I do not see how. I hold all the advantages." "You told me everything," Anthony replied. "You confessed to murder, to conspiracy, to attempted kidnapping. And you did it in a warehouse that has been recording every word." Roberto's smile faltered. His eyes darted around the space, noting for the first time the small cameras hidden in the industrial lighting, the recording equipment disguised as structural elements. "You have no proof that will hold in court," Roberto said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "I have 6 months of compiled evidence," Anthony said. "Financial records, recorded phone calls, testimony from people you thought were loyal, but who valued their freedom more than your money. And now I have your confession. In your own words, describing in detail your murder of my brother and your plans to kill an innocent woman and child." Roberto's hand moved toward his jacket. Vincent and the 3 men with Anthony moved simultaneously, weapons appearing with practiced speed. The 5 men Roberto had brought raised their own weapons, creating a standoff of deadly potential. "Do not," Anthony said, his voice sharp as a blade. "You are already done, Roberto. The question is whether you go down alone or take your men with you." For a long moment, nobody moved. Tension stretched thin enough to snap. Then Roberto's hand slowly withdrew from his jacket, empty. "Smart choice," Anthony said. He gestured to Vincent. "Collect his weapon." Vincent moved forward carefully, disarming Roberto with efficient movements. The other men followed suit, collecting weapons from Roberto's security until they stood unarmed and furious in the middle of the warehouse. "This proves nothing," Roberto said. "You are just as criminal as I am. Your evidence means nothing when you obtained it through illegal means." "You are right," Anthony agreed, "which is why none of this evidence will have my name attached to it. It will be delivered anonymously to federal prosecutors through a civil rights attorney with no connection to me or my businesses. They will receive everything tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, federal warrants will be issued. By tomorrow evening, you will be in custody." Roberto's face went white. "You cannot do this. It is already done," Anthony said. "The only question is whether you want to spend your last hours of freedom standing here arguing, or whether you want to run. Not that running will help." Roberto looked at Sophia, something desperate entering his expression. You could speak for me. Tell them I never hurt you, that this was all business between men." "You planned to kill my son," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "You planned to kill me. You used me, manipulated me, threatened me, and you think I would help you?" She stepped closer to Anthony, making her position clear. Roberto's expression hardened into cold fury. He turned toward the door, his remaining men following. At the threshold, he looked back. "This is not over, Verciani," he said. "Yes," Anthony replied. "It is." Roberto left, the door slamming behind him. The moment he was gone, Anthony turned to Sophia, his hands coming up to frame her face. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "Did he touch you?" "I am fine," Sophia said, though her entire body was shaking now that the confrontation was over. "I am fine. We are fine." Anthony pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her with desperate strength. "You should not have been here. You should not have heard any of that." "I needed to hear it," Sophia said into his shirt. "I needed to understand what we were caught in." "Now you know," Anthony said. "Now you know exactly how dangerous my world is. Now you know why I pushed you away 5 years ago." Sophia pulled back enough to look up at him. "And now I also know that you have been trying to protect us all along, that you gave up evidence and leverage and probably safety to take Roberto down the right way instead of the violent way. I could not kill him in front of you," Anthony said simply. "And I needed to make sure he went away permanently, not just temporarily. This was the only way." Vincent cleared his throat. "Boss, we should move. Roberto might do something desperate." Anthony nodded, but his arms did not release Sophia. "Take us back to Lorenzo. I need to see my son." I need to know he is safe." They drove through the night in tense silence. Sophia pressed against Anthony's side in the back seat, his arm around her shoulders, holding her like something precious he had almost lost. When they reached the apartment, Lorenzo was asleep on the couch, a guard sitting nearby reading a book. Anthony crossed to his son, knelt beside the couch, placed one hand on Lorenzo's small back just to feel him breathing. Sophia stood in the doorway, watching the man who had once pushed her away, now claiming what was his, with quiet desperation. Vincent moved close enough to speak quietly. "The evidence will be delivered in 4 hours. By noon tomorrow, this will be over." "Will it?" Sophia asked. "Or will there just be new threats, new dangers?" "There will always be risks," Vincent admitted. "But today, you took away his biggest weapon. You survived. You got your answers. That matters." Sophia nodded slowly, exhausted beyond words. Anthony lifted Lorenzo carefully, carrying him to his bedroom. Sophia followed, watched him tuck their son in with gentle hands, watched him smooth back dark hair so like his own. "He is safe," Anthony said quietly, more to himself than to her. "They are both safe. That is all that matters." And Sophia, watching him, realized that maybe it was possible to rebuild from ruins after all. 9 months had passed since the warehouse confrontation. 9 months since Roberto Ferraro had been arrested by federal agents at his Tribeca penthouse, charged with conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, money laundering, and a list of other crimes that would ensure he spent the next 2 decades behind bars. 9 months since Sophia had started breathing without constantly checking over her shoulder. She still maintained her apartment in Queens. Hannah had been shocked when Sophia finally returned after months of vague explanations, even more shocked to learn the truth about Anthony, about Lorenzo's father, about the danger they had been hiding from. But Hannah was a good friend, the kind who asked fewer questions than she probably wanted to, and simply helped Sophia pack up her belongings for the slow migration to Manhattan. Sophia spent 4 nights a week at Anthony's penthouse now. Her apartment served as office space mostly, a place where she could work without distraction, maintain her independence, and her sense of self beyond being Anthony's ex-wife or Lorenzo's mother. She had expanded her translation business, hired 2 other freelancers to help with overflow, established a reputation for reliability and quality that brought steady work from publishing houses and legal firms. The progression back to Anthony had been slow and deliberate. Neither of them pretended the past 5 years could be erased or that trust could be rebuilt overnight. They attended family therapy sessions, sometimes together, sometimes separately, unpacking trauma and mistakes and the complicated reality of 2 people who had loved each other, destroyed each other, and were now trying to find a path forward. Lorenzo thrived in the chaos. He attended an excellent private school near the penthouse, made friends with the easy social grace of children who did not yet understand class divisions. He had sleepovers and birthday parties and playdates in Central Park. Anthony had hired a child psychologist who specialized in helping children adjust to family restructuring, ensuring Lorenzo processed everything in healthy ways. This particular Saturday morning found them in the penthouse kitchen. Sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the marble countertops where Sophia was preparing pancakes while Anthony made coffee. Lorenzo sat at the breakfast bar in his pajamas, coloring a picture with intense concentration, his tongue poking out the corner of his mouth the way it always did when he focused hard on something. "Can we go to the park today?" Lorenzo asked without looking up from his drawing. "Maya said her dad is taking her to the playground and she wants me to come too." "We can do that," Sophia confirmed, flipping a pancake. "After breakfast and after you get dressed." "Can Dad come too?" Lorenzo asked, still focused on his coloring. The kitchen went completely silent. Sophia's hand froze mid-flip. Anthony's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. It was the first time Lorenzo had called Anthony anything other than his name. The first time he had used that word, that title, that claim of relationship. "Did you just call me Dad?" Anthony asked, his voice rough. Lorenzo finally looked up, confused by the sudden tension. "Yeah. Is that okay? Because you are my dad, right? So I should call you Dad instead of Anthony." Anthony set his coffee cup down carefully, like his hands were not quite steady enough to hold it. "Yes, that is okay. That is very okay." "Cool," Lorenzo said, returning to his drawing, as if he had not just fundamentally altered the emotional landscape of the room. Sophia watched Anthony's face, saw him blinking rapidly, saw his jaw clench with the effort of maintaining control. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against tile. "I need to check something in my office," he said, his voice strained. "Be right back." He left quickly, not quite running, but close. Sophia finished the pancakes, plated them for Lorenzo with syrup and strawberries arranged the way he liked, then followed the path Anthony had taken. She found him in his office, standing at the window overlooking the city, both hands braced against the glass, his shoulders rising and falling with deep breaths. She closed the door quietly behind her. "Anthony," she said softly. "He called me Dad." Anthony said without turning. "My son called me Dad." "I heard," Sophia replied, moving closer. "Are you okay?" "I do not know," Anthony admitted. He turned to face her, and she saw his eyes were wet. "For 5 years I thought I would never have this, never hear that word directed at me, never get to be a father to him. And now he just says it like it is the most natural thing in the world, because to him it is natural," Sophia said, stopping in front of him. "You have been in his life every day for months now. You read to him at night. You help with his homework. You take him to school. You are his dad in every way that matters." He was just waiting for the right moment to say it out loud. Anthony reached out, his hands framing Sophia's face, with a gentleness that still surprised her sometimes. "I do not deserve this. I do not deserve either of you." "Maybe not," Sophia agreed. "But you are trying to. That has to count for something. I want to do this right," Anthony said urgently. "I want to build something real with you. With him. Not the broken thing we had before. Something better. Something that lasts." Sophia covered his hands with her own. "Then we need to be honest about what that looks like. No more secrets. No more decisions made without including me. No more pushing people away to protect them." "Agreed," Anthony said immediately. "Complete transparency. You are part of every decision that affects Lorenzo, that affects us. I will not shut you out again. And Lorenzo gets a normal childhood," Sophia continued. "He goes to regular school, plays with regular kids, has a life that is not defined by your business or your world. When he is an adult, if he wants to be involved in what you do, that is his choice. But until then, he is just a kid. Just a kid," Anthony repeated, nodding. "I can give him that. I want to give him that. And therapy," Sophia added. "For all of us. We keep going, keep working through everything, keep learning how to be a family. Whatever it takes," Anthony promised. "Whatever you need." Sophia pulled his hands down from her face but did not let go. "I am not saying this will be easy. I am not saying I have forgiven everything. But I am saying I want to try. I want to see if we can build something from all these broken pieces." Anthony's eyes searched hers, intense and vulnerable in equal measure. "I will spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice." "You better," Sophia said, a small smile touching her lips. "Because Lorenzo is never going to let you go now that he has claimed you as his dad." Anthony laughed, the sound breaking through the emotion that had been choking him. He pulled Sophia closer, pressing his forehead against hers, breathing her in. "I love you. I never stopped loving you, even when I was destroying us. I just want you to know that." "I know," Sophia whispered. "I think I always knew." They stood like that for several minutes, holding each other in the morning light, rebuilding trust one moment at a time. That afternoon found them in Central Park. Lorenzo ran ahead on the path, his small legs pumping with the endless energy of childhood, chasing after a soccer ball Anthony had brought. Vincent walked at a discreet distance behind them, security disguised as a casual Saturday stroll. Other families dotted the park, parents pushing strollers and children climbing playground equipment, the ordinary rhythms of city life. Sophia and Anthony walked side by side, hands occasionally brushing, but not quite holding, navigating the physical distance that still sometimes felt awkward after so long apart. "I have been thinking about the Connecticut property," Anthony said as they walked. "The house where we stayed. It is secure, isolated, But it could be renovated into something more family-friendly. A summer house, maybe. Somewhere Lorenzo could spend weekends, explore nature, have space to run without security hovering constantly. He would love that, Sophia said, imagining Lorenzo running through forests, learning to identify trees and animals. He is so much a city kid right now. Exposure to different environments would be good for him. And I have been thinking about your business, Anthony continued. You mentioned wanting to expand, hire more people. I own a small office building in Midtown that has available space. I could lease it to you at cost, give you room to grow without the overhead crushing your startup. Sophia stopped walking, turning to face him. I do not want your charity, Anthony. It is not charity, he insisted. It is investment. You are talented and hardworking, and you have built something real on your own. I just want to help you take it to the next level without compromising your independence. Sophia studied his face, looking for hidden agendas or controlling motivations. She found only genuine support, and perhaps a desire to contribute something positive after so many years of absence. At cost, she repeated. Not free. I pay market rate, or I do not take it. Negotiable, Anthony countered. We can discuss terms. Fine, Sophia agreed. We can discuss. They resumed walking, catching up to where Lorenzo had stopped to examine something on the ground, probably an interesting bug or a particularly shaped rock. Vincent had moved closer, keeping watch while allowing the illusion of freedom. He is good with him, Sophia observed, watching Vincent crouch down to look at whatever Lorenzo had found. Lorenzo trusts him. Vincent raised 3 daughters, Anthony said. They are grown now, living their own lives. I think he missed having children around. Lorenzo gives him an outlet for that. I did not know he had children, Sophia admitted. There is a lot you do not know yet, Anthony said. But we have time. We have all the time in the world now. Lorenzo called to them, waving excitedly. They jogged over to find him holding a smooth stone that was perfectly round, exactly the kind of treasure that meant everything to a 4-year-old. Look what I found, Lorenzo exclaimed. Can I keep it? Of course, Sophia said, ruffling his hair. You can start a collection. Uncle Vincent says if I find 5 perfectly round ones, he will give me a prize, Lorenzo added. Then we better keep looking, Anthony said, kneeling down beside his son. What do you think? Should we search near the pond? Rocks by water are usually smoother. Yeah, Lorenzo agreed enthusiastically, already running in that direction. Anthony stood, offering his hand to Sophia. She took it this time, letting their fingers intertwine as they followed their son toward the pond. The afternoon sun was warm on her face, the park alive with sounds of people living ordinary lives, experiencing ordinary joys. Anthony pulled her close as they walked, pressing a kiss to her temple that held no urgency, no desperation, just quiet affection earned through months of rebuilding trust. Sophia leaned into him, allowing herself to hope that maybe this time, with work and honesty and commitment, they could actually make it last. Later that evening, after Lorenzo was asleep and Sophia was reading in the living room, Vincent arrived with a leather portfolio. He handed it to Anthony with a nod that conveyed weight and finality. The last of it, Vincent said. Everything closed. Anthony opened the portfolio, scanning documents. Sophia watched from the couch as his expression cycled through satisfaction, relief, and something like exhaustion. When he finished reading, he closed the portfolio and set it aside. Roberto? He asked. Sentenced to 23 years. No possibility of parole. Multiple counts of conspiracy, murder, racketeering. The prosecutor said it was one of the most comprehensive cases they had ever received. They are still investigating his organization, but the head is gone. And the territories? Anthony asked. Stable. The Russians backed off after Roberto's arrest. The others are maintaining their current boundaries. No one wants the attention federal investigation brings. We have peace, at least for now. Peace, Anthony repeated, as if testing the word. When was the last time we had that? 5 years, Vincent said. Maybe longer. Anthony nodded slowly. Thank you. For everything. For keeping them safe. For trusting my plan even when it looked insane. You are my brother in everything but blood, Vincent said simply. Of course I trusted you. After Vincent left, Anthony filed the portfolio in his study safe, locking away the final pieces of the war that had defined the past year. When he returned to the living room, he found Sophia had moved to Lorenzo's room, sitting on the edge of the race car bed, reading a story in the soft glow of the nightlight. Lorenzo was already asleep, but Sophia continued reading anyway, her voice a gentle murmur. Anthony stood in the doorway, watching them. This picture of domestic peace that he had almost destroyed 5 years ago through misguided attempts at protection. Power had always been Anthony's currency. Control, influence, the ability to move people and resources like chess pieces on a board. But standing there watching his son sleep and the woman he loved read to him despite the fact that he could not hear, Anthony realized that all the power in the world meant nothing compared to this quiet moment, this ordinary evening, this family that had somehow survived everything and found their way back to each other. Sophia finished the chapter, closed the book, and looked up. She saw him standing there, saw something in his expression that made her hold out her hand in silent invitation. Anthony crossed the room, taking her hand, letting her pull him down to sit beside her on the edge of the bed. Together they looked at Lorenzo, at the small miracle of his existence, at the future sleeping peacefully between them. "We did it," Sophia whispered. "We actually survived." "We did more than survive," Anthony replied, his arm coming around her shoulders. "We found our way home." They sat in silence for several more minutes, just breathing, just existing in the moment. Then Sophia stood, pulling Anthony with her, leading him out of the room and back to the living room where normal life waited, where work deadlines and grocery lists and parent-teacher conferences created the mundane foundation of happiness. The past would always be there, scarred tissue that served as reminder and warning. But the future stretched ahead full of possibility, school plays and birthday parties and family dinners, arguments about homework and negotiations about bedtime, the ordinary struggles and joys of building a life together. It would not be easy. There would be setbacks and challenges and moments when old wounds reopened, but they would face them together, as partners, as parents, as two people who had learned the hard way that love without trust was nothing, but trust earned back was everything. Anthony pulled Sophia onto the couch beside him, and she settled against his shoulder with the easy comfort of someone finally home. Outside the windows, the city glowed with lights and possibilities. Inside, in the warmth of the penthouse, a family rebuilt itself one quiet moment at a time. And that, after everything, was more than either of them had dared to hope for.